You are listening to Peak One Sports.
All right, what is up, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Sports Page. I am Dan Boyer, aka Neon Super Shrimp. It's just me this week. Ashton had to do a little work trip, and not sure what Chris is busy with, but I know he's got like the big move coming back to Texas and everything. So uh, I'm sure he'll be back with us whenever he can be. But until then, you got me, right? It's not so bad. All right. I've got some topics for us to talk about. I definitely feel like some of these topics would have been a little bit better with a few other people to, bounce the ideas off of and get a little feedback on and everything. But if you guys have any thoughts or comments, feel free to drop them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our uh, channel and find us on all social media at Peak One Sports. And yeah. I think I'm just going to kick this off with the Rangers. Obviously, it's summertime, and so the big sport going on right now is obviously Major League Baseball. To be honest, Ashton and I were pretty harsh on the Rangers just last week, and we're talking about how like this team is obviously capable of scoring runs and winning games, but for some reason we just weren't putting it together, and we were losing a lot of games. Not necessarily even like games that like we shouldn't be losing, but just like going on these terribly like losing streaks. Um, Trying to figure out how we exist without some of our key players like Josh Young being out, Evan Carter. Um, our obviously Scherzer's finally made his return, but Degrom still slated to come back in August, late August, I believe it is. So, no worries. Sorry, I got a message here from Kenny. All right. So, speaking of which, Scherzer and Evan Carter and Josh Young. News is from manager coach Bochy that Evan Carter and Josh Young may not return until after the All-Star break, which hurts a little bit, right? But the Rangers are on like a 5-game win streak right now, I believe it is. We swept the Tampa Bay Rays. Really after kind of like a tough going. We got swept by the Brewers, almost got swept by the Orioles, dropped 6 in a row. Managed to like, win a couple, lose a couple, and now we're on this 5-game win streak. Which hopefully they can continue tonight with another sweep of the Angels. Um, and like I said, we were pretty harsh about the Rangers last week, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if they like heard or saw our podcast or were thinking the exact same thing that we were thinking, but this team was obviously having flashes of greatness and able to score runs and get runners on base and bring them around. And so like losing all of these games is incredibly frustrating when you would think that this team, even missing some of these key players like Josh Young and Evan Carter for periods of time or for long periods of time, you would think that this team would still be able to manage at least a 500 record. Now the Rangers are 44 and 48 now, just 5.5 games back of Seattle, 2 back of Houston. We're in third place in the AL West, but this record was obviously a lot worse kind of before we started to get it together kind of starting last week and through these like especially these last 5 games. So I'm excited to see that the Rangers are in fact kind of putting it together. I'm hopeful that like with the return of Evan Carter and Josh Young especially, I think um, that will help our bats get a little bit hotter. The Rangers are still not hitting the ball great. I'm mostly basing this off of batting averages and everything. As of late, we're obviously seeing the ball and hitting the ball better. So if we can keep this trend going, I'd like to see these batting averages obviously go up. But just some of the batting averages here. Josh Smith is still leading the Rangers with or in his batting average with a 296. Corey Seager's only batting 270. Wyatt Langford also batting 270. But if I'm being completely honest, 270 for a rookie that was literally kind of called up very quickly and brought into this Ranger lineup, I think 270's fine. I think he's doing just fine. And with it considering like his slow start and his adjustment into the league, he's he's doing better, and so I would almost expect to see that average continue to go up as well. But for a rookie guy like Wyatt Langford batting 270, I'm not terribly upset with that. But with more seasoned guys like Corey Seager batting 270, Marcus Simeon batting 232, and the worst one, Adolis Garcia batting 215, and he's just been selected for the home run derby, which I'm not gonna lie, it's a little frustrating in the sense that he is he's tied for the leader on the Rangers in home runs. He has 17 so far. So does Corey Seager, followed by Marcus Simeon, who has 12, and then Josh Smith and Jonah Hill both have 8. But Garcia's only batting a 215. This is a guy that you'd definitely expect to be batting 250 to 300 kind of minimum, I would think. Would be kind of your window. 215, man, that's a rough batting average. That's a very low, um, especially for a guy who just shined in a World Series. I stand by everything that Ashton and I have been saying for the last few weeks. I think that the Rangers are still in a decent position, decent enough that we can make a good push following the All-Star break. But the issue here is that you've got to make sure that you're in a position before the All-Star break so that you can make that final push through August and September. I have very high hopes for the Rangers here, and with this like win streak and them playing a lot better over the last week 10 days, that obviously sheds a little bit of hope and light on that particular situation. So going into the All-Star break, I love seeing that the Rangers are kind of getting the bats going, scoring more runs, getting guys on base, seeing the ball better. I'd really like to see these batting averages come up some more, but I'm not terribly concerned. The Rangers have actually been able to make me feel better, I feel like, over, like I said, like this last week to 10 days. This 5 game win streak is obviously good for us, closing that gap between really even just between us and Houston and that second place spot makes us more formidable, I guess, is a decent enough word. So yeah, not too much else really to talk about with the Rangers. They do play their third and final game of this series against the LA Angels tonight. I think first pitch is in about 20 or 30 minutes. Yeah. So Rangers playing better, which makes me feel better, and ultimately, you know, uh we'll be able to make a better push with the return of Evans and Carter. Um, Yeah. So I guess that's about all I got for Rangers here. So we'll go ahead and plug one of our sponsors slash partnerships here. W here. If you're looking for a superior energy drink to replace those inferior caffeinated beverages, W contains zero maltodextrins, zero fillers, zero artificial colors or dyes, and zero proprietary blends. The coffee fruit extracts the star of this beverage that helps you focus and energize without jitters or crash. Order W today and save 10% off your order using code PEAK1. I keep drinking this for the show. And honestly, it might be a little late for like energy drinks, but honestly, it tastes so good. And I put a little ice in there to like really make it nice and cold. These are really good. They've also got some hydro uh, ones. I've already had a couple, but these are also really good. And there's no caffeine in these, so they're uh, they're just yeah, it's zero sugar, caffeine free hydration formula. So these are also really good if you're looking for a caffeine free alternative with W. So yeah, code Peak1, save 10%. Check them out, real good. Um, let me. I know this isn't like terribly professional, but I'm on my own here. Um, oh, I definitely had like some like decent topics for us to talk about tonight, but I was definitely kind of expecting other people to be here. But life happens sometimes, and I'm not upset or anything. It just changes up the day a little bit. Uh, I'm actually working on trying to invite Kenny here, so if you guys bear with me. Um, yeah, that should be good. So we'll see if Kenny has some opinions on some of these other little topics that I got. Might even help stretch the show out a little more. My boy likes to talk. Let's see here. I think it's so funny. I guess I'll just start talking about some of this basketball stuff I wanted to get into. Obviously, Caitlin Clark hit the WNBA's first triple double for a rookie, which I think is indicative of kind of the greatness that she's got and that will be coming. And it's a lot of fun to see her like set these records, break these records, especially early in her career and everything. The experience of kind of the whole Caitlin Clark effect throughout the WNBA is getting or continuing to grow, and I think that's amazing. I can't help but feel like this is a little bit of a twist of the knife, I guess, to that Olympic committee that left her off the roster. I still think that she deserved a spot on that roster if at the very least like the last spot. I also think that it would have been just good publicity for the team. I can also understand as well, though, obviously, the WNBA season backs up right to college basketball. And so she hasn't really had a break or an off season, in probably 18 months or something. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's really incredible to see Caitlin Clark continue to thrive. And then on top of that, just how incredibly humble she was in the interview following the triple double, and basically just shouting out to her teammates. I want to say the first comment she had was, like she had like 12 assists or something, and she was like, so obviously shout out to my teammates, for like making those shots and whatever. And I'm like, man, that's an incredibly humble way to like look at your stat sheet. It's like there are plenty of players I feel like that would pat themselves on the back, and there's nothing really wrong with that either. But there are plenty of players that would pat themselves on the back for basically being like unselfish and not taking the shot themselves and like finding the open man versus Caitlin Clark, who is kind of taking it a different route and not focusing on like the selfish part of it and like that she found an open man, but that her teammates made those shots. So I I I can't like really harp on Caitlin Clark enough. I feel like just her incredibly humble nature and incredible gameplay combined just it makes her a lot of fun to watch. Like there's there's I don't know, there's not a lot to like complain about with her, I guess. um Angel Reese on the other hand is on a tear, and I want to say she just continued her double streak to 14 games, I think it is now. um and she's a different style of player. She's also very talented, I think. But she definitely has like a different personality, a different mentality, and all that, which makes it for me personally. I'm not a huge fan of like her play style or her uh, I guess personality in a lot of the press conferences and things like that. Uh, I can't help but feel like she tries to say that she's like kind of like a humble player, but she's really not. I don't feel like personally, but she's obviously good for the league. I mean, she's getting attention. She's also setting records and doing a lot of work. So keep it up, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, making WNBA more fun and more entertaining to watch over the course of the season so far. I also wanted to touch just a little bit on Bronny's performance. I believe he plays again tonight. The Lakers are playing. I can't remember now. I was looking at it earlier, but uh, Bronny Bronny comes out in his opening summer league game. He goes 2 for 9, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and to be honest, just did not look very great. And honestly, the craziest part to me personally was I thought that he was not necessarily like playing like badly. But he was taking bad shots on good opportunities. He was more than capable of. I mean, most players I feel like should have made the majority of the shots that he took. He did miss like 2 or 3 3-point shots, and he obviously missed them all. Because he only had 4 points. But I mean, a number of these looks that he had were like really good looks, and he just came up short. Front rim on a lot of these shots. So I don't know if that's necessarily like nerves and he's trying to shake that off and whatever. But in I mean, in playing like a little bit of devil's advocate here, like you almost feel bad for the nepo kid here in this situation because living in his father's shadow, and especially considering that like that I don't think anybody has any like illusions about the fact that LeBron James being his father helped him get drafted sooner, not only sooner in the draft, but also by the Lakers, which helped them, sign LeBron's extension finally. And so growing up in the shadow of, your father being LeBron James and getting this nepotism, favoritism kind of given to you in the league definitely leaves you under a lot of pressure. There's just if he doesn't perform, obviously everybody's gonna. I don't think anybody's ever not gonna talk about the nepotism involved, just because his opportunity is obviously born of the fact that he is LeBron James's son. But there is a real possibility that he could grow into be a player just as good, if maybe even possibly better than his dad. There's also a real possibility that he, doesn't kind of ascend to that level of greatness. Only time will tell. It seems like kind of a rough start here. We'll see what happens with him tonight in his second game. But, you know, I mean, the spotlight's obviously going to be on him. I would argue that he wouldn't have nearly as much criticism about his play and things like that if he wasn't, the son of LeBron James. But, that's just kind of the way the dice fell for him. And I mean, I feel like you can both look at this as a huge advantage and quite a bit of a disadvantage. So I mean, it's going to be tough. It's only been one game. 2 for 9's not a great line to come out of in your first game, especially considering where you were drafted and who you were drafted by and why and all that. But yeah, Bronny's performance. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll see how it keeps going. Obviously, G League going on for a little bit. Um, but yeah, my final kind of basketball topic here was actually going to be about Team USA. The men's basketball team roster has finally been named. We have just to shout them out kind of real quick and everything. LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Edwards, Bam Adebayo, oh, excuse me, Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Tyrese Halliburton, and Drew Holiday. Honestly, solid roster. You have 3 future Hall of Famers in here. I was reading on this earlier, and I did not realize that LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant have actually never all 3 played together. Is Kawhi not on the team? Am I wrong here? I was just looking at the roster. It might have been yesterday, I guess, but uh, Derek White replaced him. Okay. Well, shout out Kevin. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for keeping me honest here. So Kawhi's off the roster for Derek White, but still, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant apparently have never all 3 played together. LeBron James and Steph Curry have played together. LeBron James and Kevin Durant, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, but not the 3 of them. Uh, they're all 3 gold medal winners. And honestly, one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about uh, with the group was I feel like every Olympics, the men's basketball roster is set. And then there's always kind of these comparisons to the dream team. And personally, I always think it's kind of ridiculous because, I mean, the dream team was, I don't, I can't necessarily tell you if the dream team was the greatest basketball team that Team USA has ever assembled. But it just I don't know, it seems like a silly comparison to constantly be making to like this same one basketball team when the reality is, in my opinion, Team USA should always be the favorite to win gold in Olympic basketball. In basketball in general. Like if it's international, if it's the Olympics, if it's whatever. Um and it's almost purely because like the sport was born here, the sport mainly exists here. I know that there are obviously other like Euro leagues and things like that that exist, but they don't like play and compete quite at the same level that the NBA does. The NBA, I mean, the NBA is the show. The NBA is where every player in the world is trying to go, right? Like even if you play in Europe or South America or whatever it is, the goal is to make it into the NBA. That's where the best players are. That's where the best money is. And so every Olympics, every 4 years, every Summer Olympics, Team USA is obviously the favorite to win, even with the number of international players that are actively in the NBA and everything. We're talking about putting like one NBA player on like, the Greek team or something like that versus like just the number like this roster is a great example here. The three future Hall of Famers coming in are, obviously like that obviously makes our team so much more stacked than any other team that we're gonna kind of face off against. Let's get some extra opinion in here. Everybody, my buddy Kenny, aka Reckless. What's up, buddy?
Oh, what's up, man? What's up, man? Just watching the kids just went home. Their mom was working. Um, I'm divorced, so got them a lot of the time over the summer. But watching the Uruguay Colombia game, 1-0 Colombia, and Colombia is down a man from about halfway, before halfway through the game. So it's totally interesting. I heard a little bit about what you were saying about basketball. Um,
Yeah,
so
just talking
question,
about the Team USA roster that was just dropped,
yeah,
and
Kawhi Leonard. I was gonna bring up Kawhi Leonard. Um,
yeah, my
what's
buddy
your
mentioned here in the chat
opinions?
Kawhi was or he dropped out, whatever, and Derek White replaced him. So I guess my the article or whatever that I had read, I swear I just looked this up today, but it might have been yesterday. Um, but that's fine. Honestly, a little disappointing. I like Derek White just fine, but Kawhi's probably the better player, to be honest.
I mean, he's one of the best of the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, for sure. When I was living in San Antonio, man, uh, they love the Spurs. They absolutely love Greg Popovich, and Kawhi Leonard was the guy, man. Like everybody loved him down there. And I mean, he was playing some killer basketball down there before he moved out to was it Toronto, I think it was.
I
Um,
think so.
but anyway,
You
so I just kind of wanted to get your take here. What I was talking about was kind of every Summer Olympics when the men's USA basketball roster is kind of announced, there's always kind of this comparison to the dream team, this evaluation as far as like, is this like a new dream team and whatever. Um and I mean I want to say it was like 2012 with like LeBron and I can't really necessarily remember the roster, but I want to say it was like 2012 when they made a huge like dream team comparison as well. But they tend to do this like every Olympics, and personally, I think it's a little silly just because like I'm not necessarily trying to say like the Jordan Olympic team was probably the greatest basketball team like ever assembled or anything like that. But what I was basically saying is that because like basketball lives here in America and the NBA is the pinnacle of basketball for the world, like we should always be the favorites going into the Olympics, right?
Oh, we 100% should, but we're not always. And that's part of the problem. Um, Also, that team, the original dream team you're talking about, I will 100% refute that was a Jordan team. I will call that the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson team. Because that first
Also,
dream team was literally Jordan was a little itty bitty baby. Like that was like Jordan coming into the league, like Bronny James. And I'm not gonna say Bronny James is gonna be anywhere near his father or Michael Jordan, but it's that age. It's that 18 to 20 range where it's a kid. It's a kid, man. It's not his team. It's the guys who would Larry Bird win 6 titles, something like that. Magic
yeah,
won
something like that.
another like 3 or 4. The NBA title went through those two teams. Sorry, I'm gonna take a big swig of water.
Oh,
Thanks
you're
to the
good.
kidney stones.
Oh, you're good. Um, I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's kind of funny to me because it's like obviously every Olympics you're trying to assemble the best roster you can put together. I think that's obvious, and considering that, like, I mean, I was just saying this before you popped on, but considering that, like, there are international players in the NBA and there are international leagues in like South America and Europe and all that also play basketball, but they're all trying to get to the NBA, and even those international players that are actively here in the NBA, we're talking about adding one NBA player to a few rosters, and so like Greece gets like one NBA player, you know what I mean? Versus like this particular roster, I was talking about LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant, three future Hall of Famers, obviously going to be starting the five, and then you've got guys like Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis. It's
Go
our
Sixers.
roster. Our roster in comparison to any roster that any other country can put together just is not going to stack up, and we should always be the favorites. And honestly, I feel like every Summer Olympics going into, the basketball competition tournament, whatever you want to call it. Uh, I mean, honestly, it's almost like Russia in the 80s with hockey. You know what I mean? It's like, it's our sport. We dominate it and everything. And there's no reason that we should actually lose to anybody. Now, does it happen? Obviously, that thing, happens all the time. Teams get unseated or upset, whatever. But
I mean,
I feel,
you
I guess
also
I
gotta
personally just feel like
remember.
going into every Olympics, it basically should be Team USA number one, and then everybody else fights it out for number two. But
You also got to remember talking about hockey, since you're going to bring that up. It wasn't Russia's sport. It was Russia employed all their players as members of the army at the time, and all the best Canadians and Americans were playing in the NHL and were
right,
not
but
allowed
I
to
mean, well, I
play.
mean, however you want to do it. I mean, the NBA is located here in America. All the players are
Yeah, Dr.
paid, and this is
Naismith
like the pinnacle
invented
of the
it,
sport.
what, in
It's
Indiana?
when we're drafting all of our players from the absolute best league in the world. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, I think Dr. Naismith was from Indiana, where he invented it. Um, that's I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up, but I'm on mobile right now because my kid decided to dump a bunch of Sprite into my drawer earlier today, so I gotta dry out my keyboard and finish cleaning it so I can do a show with Adam later. But
classic.
yeah, no, we invented the sport, so it's like baseball to me. Like
Right, right.
we should be number
Yeah, I mean,
one at all times.
yeah. Um. Anyway, pretty stacked roster for men's basketball team. Both men's and women's Team USA basketball teams poised and expected, I think, to win gold in the Olympics. So count 2 gold medals already. We got them. I think so. Um,
I'd agree with you. I think that's a. I
I
mean,
was going
I
to talk about
normally.
this documentary on HBO called Quad Gods. I'm going to shout it out. Um, it actually, I think it premiered tonight at like 8 o'clock when we started the stream. But I'm just gonna shout it out. I'll probably talk. Well, no, I guess we won't talk about it next week because I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But it's called Quad Gods on HBO, and it chronicles the lives of 3 quadriplegic gamers in New York City who are forming the first fully quadriplegic esports team. So any fellow gamers or anything out there that might be interested in checking that out, feel free to give it a watch.
What's that on? That actually sounds like. I'm not really even a gamer, but that sounds like an interesting watch.
Yeah, Quad Gods on HBO.
All right,
Or well,
I'll have to. I'll
Max.
have to give it a look.
Max.
I'll have to give it
Yeah.
a look. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So, well, you know what? Whether you've seen it or not, we'll talk a little bit about it. But have you watched any of the new Hard Knocks off season?
Even though it involves my New York Giants,
Yeah.
I have actively been avoiding it. Um, if anybody follows me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, my Instagram handle, I won't say here because we're a family-friendly show. But I've actively been trying to avoid it because I feel like it's just gonna make me angry.
I'm not gonna lie to you. As a not Giants fan, as a Cowboys fan, I thought of you while watching this, and I genuinely thought, man, if I was a Giants fan, I'd be so pissed. We'll talk about this just a little bit. I happened to well, new episode dropped yesterday, so they got 2 episodes dropped now, and obviously the first episode kind of kicks off with a short part on a discussion about Saquon Barkley and his value. And basically, the conversation starts off as saying, like, do we think we can franchise tag Saquon and trade him? Do we think anybody out there would like pay the franchise price for him? And honestly, what makes me laugh the most about this is we're talking about $1 million, and the GM for the Giants is basically like I also understand that the Giants are under like a cap constraint and they don't have a lot of cap space left. They also show I want to say it was in the second episode
Thanks, Daniel
that
Jones.
they thought the new cap was going to be 240. When it came out it was 255.4, so that obviously gave them an extra 15 million to play with, and they're trying to shore up their O line and their defense, what with having lost their defensive coordinator and having to acquire a new one. But the conversations that they were having about Saquon Barkley were honestly just making me laugh because it felt like for some reason they just did not value Saquon Barkley and were absolutely, in my opinion, like it was a foolish decision. Saquon had obviously given them his number. I want to say it was like 12.5 a year. Um, and they weren't looking to do that. They wanted to be. I want to if I'm remembering the numbers correctly, I want to say they wanted to. I think the best offer they gave him was like 11.8, which was going to be the franchise tag. And ultimately, obviously, like we'll see what actually happens behind the scenes in the coming weeks and things like that. But like obviously, we know that ultimately Saquon goes to Philly where he was offered. It's 3 years. I can't remember, but it averages out to about 12.5 million a year. Um, so
I
I mean,
mean, the kid,
he got what he wanted. So it's like 36 or 38 over 3 years or whatever it is. Um, but
the
yeah, I
kid who
mean,
grew up 15 minutes away. Grew up a Giants fan. Grew up, went to Penn State, begged the Giants to pick him, and you guys are gonna get all hung up over 700K because you overpaid Daniel Jones, and
oh, they
now
talk
you
about that
got
a
to
lot too.
rebuild.
They definitely talk a lot about how they've got 40 million tied up in Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that one bothers me. Like it
And really,
honestly
it's kind
bothers
of funny
me.
too because they're basically talking about how like they don't believe that the running back market is like saturated. And there were plenty of running backs that obviously moved across the league. Pollard goes to Tennessee. Derrick Henry went to Baltimore.
I think so.
Um, Saquon Barkley obviously goes to the Eagles. Uh, the Giants acquired Devin Singletary. But I don't know. It was definitely one of those things. It was kind of funny to watch, kind of having like knowing obviously what happens in the future with Saquon Barkley and the fact that like this GM is pretty convinced that he can get like a running back for like of similar quality sake of Saquon Barkley for like less, than like less than what he's actually paying. And honestly, it astounds me because I don't that doesn't compute in my head, you know? And their willingness to
I
let Saquon kind of test the market and find out what his value is and everything. Personally, when they first started with that, I was like, well, that could come and bite you in the ass. You know what I mean? Because there could, in fact, be a team out there that's willing to pay him like 14 million or something like that. And if he's more concerned about like getting paid and everything, then I don't necessarily hate him for it. But you know,
Yeah,
there are teams out there that can afford to pay him more
go
than
get your
you can.
paycheck.
You know, so I don't know. I thought it was honestly hilarious that they considered the fact that like other running backs across the league were equal to his level of talent and contribution to the team, and that they could get him for cheaper or something. To be
I
honest, I'm not
mean,
exactly sure what Devin Singletary's contract is or
you
was.
gotta look. If you look at his overall stats, they're not the best. Mostly because he's missed a lot of time due to injury. But
Sure,
when you have an offensive
but he's
line
he's
who
good,
lets
man. He's been good.
when you have an offensive line who just lets a dude get smacked every fucking play. Sorry for the language, but every play,
Oh, for
he
sure.
you're gonna have a hard time. Um, he's been one of the most electric backs in the league when he's healthy. Um, and I think he has given the Giants everything they they're owed, and I think they screwed him. I think rumor around here is that the Giants had right of last refusal, and the Eagles offered him that deal, and the Giants went, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah.
In fairness, I don't think the Giants could afford it, and they should have signed him to 11 and a half midway through the season. I think he would have signed it, but hindsight is 2020.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, just to like, I guess play on what you were saying, I definitely agree. The Giants just I don't know. The word I guess I want to use here is respect. Like they just didn't have enough respect for Saquon Barkley and what he was doing for the team. And to be completely honest, I think Devin Singletary will fit into the Giants' offensive situation just fine because you kind of like what you were saying with the lack of offensive line that the Giants have right now, you almost kind of need a running back that can like swing out and give you that drop down pass or whatever for you to I don't know, get out of a bad situation, you know what I mean? Um According to the show anyway, they're obviously working to um shore up that offensive line with the little bit of money that they do have left. But they're also working to adjust and acquire personnel to get their defense the way that their defensive coordinator wants it. From what I understand from the show, he was talking about he wants kind of four elite pass rushers up front. Um,
I
so
mean,
we'll see what the Giants manage to put together for that.
that's what's won every Super Bowl for the Giants.
What's
I
that?
mean, yeah, that's it. That's what's won every Super Bowl for the Giants. You go all the way back to the Lawrence
Yeah,
Taylor days. Four elite pass rushers. That's defense has always been the Giants' way.
I mean
I sent you
defense wins
guys that.
championships.
I sent you guys that crazy stat about the Giants. I think the Giants have won like 43.2% of games. Um, and in the regular season, and have won it's something crazy like 85% of games in the playoffs. Like,
Well, that's always going to be a little skewed just because like if you win, you get to play more games. You know what I mean? So you could
true.
totally play 2 or 3 games and then lose one. You come out of the playoffs, you're 3-1. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Statistics
we only
takes
lost
public
one
school.
Super Bowl.
I mean, Cowboys haven't been to the Super Bowl since I can remember. I think I was 10 with the last Super Bowl win for
But
the
that
Cowboys.
actually
But
brings me to another point since you brought it up. Loyalty, Dan. I don't think the Giants, since Mr. Mara died, I think we've lost the loyalty that we used to have. Mr. Mara, for those who don't know, was the son of the original owner who bought the Giants for $500 in 1924. Um,
just
and
crazy.
he was an honestly kind man who was very, 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 very loyal to his players. His daughter um, married into, or no, yeah, not original Mr. Mara, the second Mr. Mara. His daughter married into the Rooney family of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's who gave us Rooney Mara of the girl with the dragon tattoo fame. Um, and that's those two families are two families that, in terms of football, have always been loyal to their players. Once Mr. Mara died and the Tish family got full control, I feel like that's when they benched Eli. Like, the guy who's given you two Super Bowls, who's been the Iron Man, who's been there every day, and took pay cuts. I feel like the Giants kind of sort of lost their identity with that. Um, if
Yeah.
that makes any
I mean,
sense.
no, I mean, I totally agree. And to be honest, I mean, again, I'm taking this from Hard Knocks and everything, but I thought it was a little bit ironic that the Giants tried to play the same loyalty card on like the same loyalty guilt trip on Saquon Barkley by basically telling him, like if you want to be like a lifetime Giant, if you want to be in the Ring of Honor, all that stuff, like you'll sign this deal. But it just every time you kind of saw them talking about Saquon Barkley and his contract and all that behind the scenes, I mean, at least me, I just got this feeling that like they didn't really value him or respect him enough and weren't necessarily even trying that hard to keep him. Their plan was even slightly, at least a little bit. They talked about franchise tagging him and then trying to trade him away. So I can't say that the Giants actually had any real plans or ambition to try and keep Saquon on their roster anyway. And it ultimately, I think, bites him in the ass even harder with the fact that he ends up going to Philadelphia, of all places. So you're going to see him twice a year. And now
Yeah,
he's on
no,
a
that'll be
very,
super fun.
very potent offense. So I wouldn't be surprised to see like some of the best Saquon Barkley we've probably ever seen with this new fit. So,
He's
all
also
right.
not going to be asked to carry the entire offense.
Oh, for sure. Right. I mean, plus they've got like an O line, and I mean,
A
it's
quarterback.
such a better situation for him. I would expect Saquon Barkley to be a high end fantasy football player this coming season, which hopefully our fantasy show will be kicking off in the next few weeks, month or so, something like that. But yeah, we're still working out the details on that. We'll keep you posted and let everybody uh, hear and know about that. All right, just before we move on to my final topic here, let's shout out to the Dapper Dog Academy. Say goodbye to unruly behavior and hello to a well-mannered pup. Owner trainer Corey Bennett at the Dapper Dog Academy has nearly 10 years experience helping your canine companions become the best versions of themselves. With personalized training programs tailored to fit your pup's unique personality and needs, Corey's committed to helping your best friends reach their full potential. Contact Corey and the Dapper Dog Academy on Facebook. Schedule your consultation today. Ashton's
And vote. And
Golden is
vote.
doing much better now. I hope he
Wait, was
doesn't get
that
too mad at me for
Ashton's?
this, but he got his Golden, Mr. Barkley got bit by a snake. Not
Oh,
I
oh,
think he
that's
said it
right.
was a copperhead, but I'm not entirely sure. But I texted him earlier today and checked on him, and he said he's doing better, so he's getting better. Poor guy, he was all swollen and everything in that picture.
So
But yeah,
Dan, that
doing
that
better.
pic she posted earlier, that little cute golden, whose puppy was that? That was adorable.
Hang on, I feel like I gotta pull it up
I think her
because
name was Riley. She posted it earlier, and it was this.
maybe probably.
She couldn't be more than
Oh yeah,
3 to 6
Reba,
months old.
Reba, yeah,
Reba,
yeah.
such a cute picture.
She's actually probably one of the younger pups we've had here in a minute. Corey actually does specialize in like small dogs and puppy training, uh, the whole housebreaking and leash walking and obedience and all that. She's awesome. So be sure to check out Dapper Dog Academy on Facebook. But yeah, she's a cutie we got right now. We also got a couple of doodles here. Um, we got another bulldog that actually the bulldog we drove out and picked up for our client, and then we kept her for like a month, 6 weeks, something like that, and like potty trained her and did a lot of that stuff. So
Nice.
I got a little bit of an affinity for that bulldog because she was so young when we got her, in fact, that she couldn't bark, and so like during
Oh,
the time that we had her, she actually like learned and figured out how to bark, and it just got my heart. It was so cute.
you have no idea. If I was like within 5 hours drive, I was driving to your house to cuddle that little golden that you got that Corey posted on the page today.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was like, oh
Well,
my god,
she's even
what a cute pup.
she's not. I don't think she's like a golden. I mean, she's a retriever, but she's like the reddish kind of
I
color,
think they're
the
still
auburn.
golden retrievers though,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
by
But I
breed.
mean, she's not like the blonde
Like
traditional.
the super, yeah, like the Full House
Yeah, yeah,
dog.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so my final topic I got for us here tonight or whatever, we're actually Ashton and I are planning on doing a special stream next week for the sports page, and we are going to be playing College Football 25. We haven't worked out exactly all the details, what mode we're going to play on, and that kind of thing, but that's what I kind of wanted to talk about. Kenny, you're also going to be getting College 25, right, when it comes out?
I have it. I'm waiting for the pre-order to hop on my Xbox. That way I can download it, and then it'll be playable day one.
Yeah, yeah. So did you just out of curiosity, did you get the like the deluxe version with the 3-day early access?
I did not. I
No?
did
Yeah,
not. I didn't. I
me
didn't
neither,
feel
but
like it was worth
Ashton
the
did
money.
and we're going to take advantage. So that's why we're going to do it on Wednesday because that'll actually be part of that 3-day early access and the game comes out on Friday and we'll be doing some of that. But first thing I want to talk about College Football 25. Kenny, what like mode for College 25 do you think you're looking forward to the most?
I hope they bring back where you can play as like the one college player. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah,
Um,
so just to shout it out and give you an idea of what they have. So there's 4 modes. There's Road to the College Playoffs, which is basically I assume kind of like in Madden, where you could like just take your team pretty much straight to the playoffs and you play through the playoffs and stuff. There's Dynasty mode, which is pretty traditional from college and Madden, but you basically get to be the coach, manager, whatever, and you do all the recruiting and put your team together and play through the season. Then there's Road to Glory, which is the player career mode that you're kind of talking
that's the
about
one.
here.
That's the one I like.
And then they're also going to have an ultimate team, which is similar to like what Madden had, where you kind of get player packs, cards, and you put those players into your roster, and you can play online or whatever. Everything I believe is actually crossplay between the platforms, except for Dynasty mode. Dynasty mode, I guess, is not crossplay, but anyway,
That's
so
dumb.
yeah, the mode you're talking about, Road to Glory. That's the one you think you're looking forward to the most. Create a player and
That's the one I had the most fun with back in the day. Um, and then it was just individual games online with buddies. Um, especially because now they're going to announce cross-platform is for everything but Dynasty, which is dumb.
Yeah.
Those two
A
are going to
little
be the
annoying.
two that I'm going to look forward to the most. Or no, that one's the one that I'm going to be looking forward to the most. Sorry. The other one, what was the one with the packs again? Because that's the one I've been playing. It's called Faction on WWE 2K24. That's the one I've been
Yeah,
playing a lot
the
right
Ultimate
now.
Team. Yeah, Ultimate Team.
Yeah, that one sounds fun. Um, hadn't really played it till the new WWE game.
Yeah,
Um,
I haven't played any of the WWE games. I've seen them like online and everything. They seem to have pretty good reviews, but I haven't actually played any of them. To be honest, I'm with you. I think Road to Glory is probably the mode I'm looking forward to the most. I also enjoyed like creating my player and like I usually like to be like a halfback or something and then go through like your college career. Um, I also like I really honestly the things I'm looking forward to the most is like they're supposed to have like your dorm room again where you can you pick and choose. You have to do like your academics and things like that. I guess in this one you actually can go on like academic probation if you don't keep up with your schooling and whatever. Then
you're
obviously
reading and writing and arithmetic.
practice and things like that. From what I understand, the part I was probably the most disappointed with, you don't get to start in high school. That was the part I probably enjoyed the most was like you got to play through the high school playoffs and then you got your recruiting offers and whatever. I guess they don't do that. I guess now you just kind of select the level of recruit you want to be, like whether you want to be a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, and then kind of create your player or whatever, and then you pick wherever you want to go. Obviously, like 2-star players, you're gonna have a harder time climbing the roster and whatnot. But there's still like position battles and things like that that I guess you have to do in like practice to become a starter. But yeah, Road to Glory is probably the mode I'm looking forward to the most. Dynasty mode's the other one that I was looking forward to the most. I'm really frustrated actually that you can't cross-platform the Dynasty mode, just because I've got a number of friends on Xbox. I've got some friends on PlayStation. It'd be nice to be able to like put together like a group of people to play in the dynasty mode. But Ultimate Team, I don't know, man. I always have mixed feelings about Ultimate Team. It's mostly just because like I mean, I feel like when I play Madden, I mostly play Ultimate Team just because I don't know. To be honest, I couldn't even tell you. Um, and I don't even play like other people online very often. I don't necessarily know why. I got like a complex about it or something. I'm just afraid to play strangers online. But with this college football 25, I'll probably actually try and play more online and everything, and probably even try and stream it. Actually, I got myself a PlayStation camera and everything, so
Well, that's different
might
than
actually start
the.
playing, and maybe we'll play with some viewers and whatever, get that going.
That's
But
different than
yeah,
what I was talking about. It's essentially Ultimate Team for the WWE games, but it's like there's a storyline. Like you build your own faction, and
interesting.
like you got to fight through, for lack of a better phrase, a tier of other wrestlers.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it's definitely a different. Sorry, just dropped something. It's definitely a different experience. I also haven't bought a Madden game in probably like 8 years.
yeah. Well, my issue with Ultimate Team on Madden is that like you like when you acquire players, there's obviously ways to like acquire certain tokens by playing games and things like that that you can use to like power up those players and activate like different abilities and things like that, which honestly it starts to get to be too much. It's like I want to play a football game, not necessarily like a video game. You know what I mean? If I wanted to play like NFL Blitz, I would play NFL Blitz. I would find a game more like that, But I'm playing Madden. I'm trying to play like a little more like realistically. play football, and then they've got linebackers that jump, 30, 40 feet in the air and snatch balls, interceptions and whatever. And then, with Ultimate Team, you've got guys that get, abilities and power ups and whatever that just let them like annihilate their opponents and whatever. And because honestly, even when I play, one of my defensive linemen is Cameron Jordan, and he's one. I can't even remember the name of the ability or whatever, but it's like whenever he lights up, he's gonna bowl right over the lineman that blocks him, and I'm probably gonna get a sack. And so, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. It's not that I don't hate get or like I don't hate getting sacks or anything, but like I definitely like the game to be a little more realistic and challenging. But everything that I've heard about college football so far sounds amazing. The new kicking system, the wear and tear on the body and everything, and how players will kind of, you know, endure hits and things like that throughout a game. I'm pretty excited. But this takes me into it's along the same topic here, but I just wanted to talk about some schools that you think would be a lot of fun to rebuild on College Football 25. I've got a little list here. Um, I almost hate like hitting you with the last minute here, but I appreciate you being here anyway, buddy.
Rebuild. You mean start from like zero?
Basically, like you're gonna come in as the head coach starting this year, and you're gonna try and like take them to a championship.
Iowa State.
Iowa State. That's a pretty good one, actually. I don't even have that one on my list, to be honest. The one I'm going to throw out to you just because I don't know why but I always think about you when I hear about this school, um, and so I thought of you when I thought about rebuilding the school. Rutgers.
Uh, I think they got the right coach there. In all honesty,
I
um,
mean that would be a pretty fun one to do though.
Greg
Rutgers
Schiano did
Rutgers
it
would be,
once.
yeah.
He's gonna do it twice.
You think?
Um, oh, he's already brought the team again higher in wins than they were last year. Um, Dude's a great coach. I loved him at Ohio State. Um, One that I think needs a massive rebuilding um, is Michigan State. Um,
It probably wouldn't be a terrible one. I'm not
I
going there.
think they need I think they need a massive rebuild. I think they need. It's gonna take. It's gonna take 4 or 5 years for Michigan State.
Wow, that's wow. I guess that would be a decent one to get. I don't know if I think it would take them 3 to 5 years to rebuild. A couple of good recruiting years, transfer portal. Um,
Yeah,
but
who's
actually, that reminds me.
transferring to
I do have
Michigan
another
State?
topic we can talk about after we finish this one up, but we'll get into that in a minute. Um, I'll just throw out a few more because I got a decent little list here that I wrote down. Schools that I think would be fun. Arizona State Sun Devils.
Okay.
That wouldn't be a bad one. They're not. I mean, so honestly, most of this team, the teams that I kind of wrote down aren't necessarily like 2-win teams or anything. They're probably close to 500 teams, um, but they would need that extra push. So like Boise State, right? Not terrible, but they could use some good recruiting, some real help there. Um, East Carolina, not terrible, but
ECU, the good old
but
Pirates. Yeah,
but
no,
that would
they
be a
could
fun
use
one, and they got awesome uniforms. They've got some cool uniforms.
those purple and yellow ain't bad.
Um, honestly,
You're
I think it's funny, but I'm repping my
I
set,
was
and I'm
about
totally
to
gonna
say
say
you're wearing one.
TCU. I think would be a pretty good one to do, even though 2 years ago they're coming off of a college football championship appearance. I mean, they got absolutely rocked in that game by Georgia, but
What about
I think
SMU?
TCU would be a pretty decent school. Plus, I mean, you're talking about a Big 12 school in Texas. Uh, I think TCU would be a pretty good one to try and get into and rebuild. They're definitely not they're definitely kind of a mid school.
What about
Since
SMU?
SMU, that's on my list here. Yeah, SMU's a good one too.
There we go. All right,
And
cool. We're on the same
honestly,
page there.
one of the things I'm always going to kind of like about SMU was SMU was a powerhouse back in the 80s, just before they got that death penalty. And then, they've obviously, I mean, they've obviously struggled to recover from the death penalty. It's a tough uh, penalty to come back from. Usually takes about 20 years really to rebuild from the death penalty, but they're finally on the other side of that, and they've actually been doing pretty well the last few years. Actually, I want to say like my final year at TCU, they upset us, and I was really pissed about it. I was downtown, and there were a ton of because I think SMU came, they were here at TCU, so they came from Dallas to Fort Worth, and so there were a ton of like you know preppy frat boys and whatever in the bars that were all SMU, whatever. I was so pissed. I hated that game. I was so pissed. Staying in the AAC. What do you think about well, Army now just moved to the AAC July 1st. I was reading, and Navy. So Navy, Army rebuild.
The problem with that is, and a lot of people don't realize this, who have not served. The major problem with any of those service academies is you have to keep with height weight standards. So those offensive and defensive lines are always gonna be massively, massively undersized compared to any of the big boys. Um,
I mean, probably, but it's a video
it's
game. I'm sure you can recruit who you need.
yeah, yeah. In the video game, sure. What about Louisville?
Louisville, that's a good one too. I didn't have that on my list though, but Louisville's a good one. Um, Probably one of the better ones, considering you get to be in the SEC. Vanderbilt.
Ooh, Vandy. I don't ever think you're gonna be able to, and this is more reality than anything else.
Sure.
Um, my cousin, Caitlin, I'll give her a huge shout out. Love her to death, Caitlin Leonard. If you watch, love you, Kate. But do you know how difficult it is to even get into Vanderbilt?
Oh yeah. Right.
I'm hoping the game keeps those academic standards the same.
Uh,
Um,
I don't know. I don't know, man.
but yeah, no, Vandy be a good one. But if we're talking about those schools that are, those academic schools. Sorry, my beard looks like crap. I got to trim it down. Um, we got to talk about a school in southern Indiana. Maybe you got it on your list. Starts with a P.
Oh, you talking about Purdue? Those
There you
Boilermakers?
go.
That wouldn't be a bad one. That'd be a pretty good one. Honestly, I along that same line, I had thought about Notre Dame, but they've been. I mean, I feel like they've been like right on the cusp the last few years. Like just outside the top 10. Um,
For like 25 years.
well, I mean, in the early 2000s and stuff, like they weren't very good at all. Um, they started getting better. I feel
I
like,
mean, 2004,
yeah. See, Ross agrees. Notre Dame would be a good one.
2004, AJ Hawk and Brady Quinn, I think it was, maybe it was 03, played in the Fiesta Bowl as two of the top 5 teams in the country.
Yeah, but I'm
And
saying like after
AJ Hawk
that, wasn't
married
wasn't
Brady
there like
Quinn's
a
sister.
5-year period where Notre Dame like didn't make bowl games like at all?
Oh no, they made bowl games. They just didn't make like
Good bowl games, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was like
But I mean, like there was even like that period like after that where they weren't really even like ranked ever. They were outside the 25. Like they weren't the same team, especially like compared to like who they were in like the 70s and stuff. Like
Oh, they're
no,
never gonna get back
Notre
there.
Dame was an absolute monster back then. Now, I mean, it feels like Notre Dame's been like clawing back to that reputation that they used to
They're
have.
trying.
But I mean, but it's tough when you've got such like high end Division 1 schools, and you've got places like Alabama that obviously get to recruit everybody because of who they are and whatever. Same thing with schools
And
like Texas A&M, Michigan, UCLA,
Ohio State,
USC.
say
Yeah,
it.
Ohio State. So many of these schools. I got a few more that I think would be a lot of fun to rebuild.
Texas A&M,
Nebraska.
I gotta admit to you, I think Texas A&M needs a rebuild, but that's my personal opinion on college football. But
Honestly,
Nebraska, that would be amazing to
I don't
see.
I don't know that honestly my personal opinion is I think Texas A&M moving to the SEC was the absolute worst decision that they've ever made. There's
Mhm.
almost at least as it stands right now, there's no chance for A&M to be on top. LSU, Bama, I mean, and then now with Texas coming and everything, I mean, I feel like A&M had a pretty short window there where the SEC was going to be less stacked than it's about to be. And I mean, I didn't think they stood a chance to be able to win the SEC. I mean, there's that conference is so stacked and everything that I personally think it was such a foolish decision. It would have been better for A&M to stay in the Big 12 with Texas and have the potential to like upset Texas and be number 1 to their number 2 usually. And I don't know, the powers that be decided to take it to the SEC, and I think it was a foolish decision. But I mean, we'll see how it plays out. There's always 10, 20 years in the future. There's I mean, I'm never going to say that A&M's
Yeah,
always going to be out, and they've got the recruiting potential.
they've got more
It's
money
Texas,
than A&M's got more money than just about anybody. And I
almost. I
don't
mean,
think
Texas obviously has the most, but A&M is not hurting for money, and their boosters do make sure of it. So
Ohio State is not hurting for money. I would guarantee Ohio State has a lot higher what's that endowment than Texas has. On
I don't know
we've
about
got
I don't know about that, man.
all
Honestly,
right,
if you were to come out here
$5
and
bet, five
well, are
dollar
you talking
bet.
about Texas or Texas A&M?
Texas itself, the UT Austin
Oh no,
specifically.
look it up, man. Texas has the most money out of any school,
Oh,
all of it.
okay, okay.
Texas is number 1. And what's funny about it? Mac Brown was the one that made them the richest school in the country because he did a great job with like marketing and doing all the swag and all that. But yeah, Texas makes the most money in the nation out of any school, including Bama. So uh,
No,
Texas.
I
But
don't know
Texas
what I don't
A&M,
know.
if you go out there and you were to like wander around Kyle Stadium and everything, you would understand like they've got a lot of money. And I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say it's like more than Ohio State, but it's probably got to be at least as much as, I mean, and their boosters are what actually end up paying for everything because it's like their boosters put together what was it, like the 20-40 million dollars that they needed to end the head coach football contract a couple years ago. So I mean,
Oh yeah, that was
they're not hurting for money.
what's his face from Florida State. Um,
Yeah. But
that
anyway,
said, that said, who is the highest paid state employee of the state of Ohio?
oh, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Ryan Day.
I believe you.
Used to be Urban Meyer, which as an Ohio State fan, and I know I look like Bray Wyatt from back in the day, like I look like I'm from those old WWE videos, but the highest paid human being in the state of Ohio on on like the roster, that's not the right word, on the payroll of the state of Ohio is the Ohio State head football coach, and it's usually by about 5 million
I believe it.
over
All right.
the
Anyway,
governor.
back to these teams. We were just talking about Nebraska. Rebuild Nebraska.
I
Uh,
think
that'd be a
I
good
think
one.
they had the
Big
right
12.
coach to do it. In all honesty, if we're not talking video game.
No, I'm purely talking video game. We're just talking about college 25.
Oh yeah, no, that'll be a fun one to rebuild. That stadium's always rocking.
Right. Not a bad location.
What are the Roadrunners down in Texas? What's that? San Antonio State University that has like the bird logo.
No, it's University San Antonio. Jesus, I know what it is too because I lived right there. I keep wanting to say UTEP, but that's wrong because that's El Paso. Damn
Yeah,
it.
no, they got the coal miner logo.
Yeah.
I think it's
UTSA. That's it.
UTSA.
University of
Yeah,
Texas San Antonio. Yeah.
that
Stupid.
one would
I
be a
should I
fun
should have
one.
I should have guessed that after I was like, oh yeah, it's in Texas, San Antonio. Stupid.
That's one I'd want to do.
That probably actually wouldn't be a bad one to do either. Actually, I got to when I was in San Antonio, I got to work with the athletic director that had actually built the football program at UTSA. She wasn't at UTSA at that point in time. She was actually at St. Mary's as their athletic director. But yeah, she had
Which
been at.
St. Mary's?
Don't make me lie to you. St. Mary's, San Antonio, private college.
All right, that's perfectly fine because there's a St. Mary's that's right next to Notre Dame.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
Rudy Rutledge went to. So I was curious if you were up there.
No, it wasn't. No, I was in San Antonio. Just it was a internship that I was doing with their athletic department. So I helped the one of the volleyball coaches like watch a bunch of scouting film and record stuff. We put
Nice.
together a Excel sheet that showed all the other colleges like in their conference and all the sports that they offered and all that. I helped out with a golf tournament. I helped out with a youth league baseball camp that was out there. But yeah, it was a fun summer. It's a cool thing.
Is UAB on your list?
UAB not on my list, but that's a good one too. That's a pretty good one to rebuild. Plus, I'm kind of into the whole. Is it Dragon? Is it Dragon?
It's the Flamers or something like that.
Yeah,
It's something like that.
yeah.
Sorry,
But
my lighting's kind of terrible, but
oh,
I'm
you're
kind
good.
of
You're good. We'll try and wrap this up a little bit. I just got a few more here anyway. Honestly, the team. Well, here I'll name these other ones that I got on here. Cincinnati Bearcats.
I don't know. That'll be good.
That'd be kind of a tough one, I think. Also, like Wake Forest. Honestly, I think the ACC is probably the conference I picked like the most teams from because I also have Boston College here, and then
Well, Boston College hasn't been relevant since Matt Ryan.
for sure, and that one I actually think would be like really tough. And I mean, obviously, some of these like it just kind of depends on like how hard you want the rebuild to be for you. You know what I mean? Because obviously, some of these schools are going to have an easier time recruiting, players and whatnot than other.
Well, I mean, it's and not to get political or religious, but the Catholic population of the United States is not what it was in 20 years ago.
Right. I
There's
mean,
been a split
that's
to
always going to be a little bit of an issue when you have the like religious schools and
super
stuff like
Catholic
that.
colleges. Yeah,
I mean TCU faces this a similar type thing too, just because Christian university, but whatever.
Liberty.
Um,
Hold on.
my
Now that you bring up those Liberty
oh
University.
Liberty would be a really tough one I think to do with their football team, just because Honestly, I'm not even sure how many games they probably won last year, but that would be a real tough one, especially to get them to a national championship or something.
They won
That
like
would be.
10 or 8
Did
or
they?
10 last year. They won.
Did they?
They had a like one of their best seasons of all time last year.
Are they D1?
Yep.
Interesting. Just one of
Ooh,
those schools I don't pay attention to, I guess.
you know who just turned D1 that would be fun?
Hmm.
James Madison University.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad. That'd be a real interesting one to do because with the fresh move to D1 and everything, you would.
Or App State.
Yeah, App State's not bad either. Man, there's so many like mid-range to like low-range
All
schools
right.
that you could probably
As
get
an
into.
Ohio State alumni, you got to let me do this joke.
Go for it.
Hey Dan, you're a fan of Michigan, right?
Sure. Go
What kind of battery does it take to beat Michigan?
hit me.
1 AA.
Stupid.
Back from when App State fucking got you guys.
Jeez. All right. Moving on. My last two I got here. Both of these I think would be a lot of fun. Um, I'll save my last one because this is the one I might actually pick to do. I think it would be the most fun. But Hawaii.
Oh, I did that like 4 different times in
Yeah,
like
I did too. I did that too
NCAA
back in the day.
14 or something like that. It was something crazy back in the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
I did the same thing. I feel like a lot of times in the Road to Glory mode too, I would make like a halfback and I would end up at Hawaii and then just put them on the map, just kill it. But the team, I feel like I might actually pick just to like change it up if I'm not going to go TCU. Uh, University of Miami Hurricanes. There it is.
You're gonna toss up the U.
I think that would be a lot of
Uh,
fun, man. Bring them back to those. Like I don't
it would
necessarily know how
be.
many people want to call them glory days, but I mean, it was a lot of fun.
They got there's no other way to call them. They were
I mean,
glory days. But
you
since
know,
you
The
brought
Rock was
up
on that roster.
The Rock was, and that's where that picture of the Rock with the fanny pack came from
Yeah,
when he was a student.
yeah, at
You're
UM.
missing a couple of other Florida schools that I think you'd enjoy. FAU, Florida
FAU might not be
Atlantic,
too bad. It's that's definitely going to be a tougher road for the rebuild for sure.
and then one of them has gone to a major conference now, I believe. UCF. Both my brothers graduated from UCF.
Yeah,
I
UCF has
think
actually been on a bit of a climb. They've been playing a lot better the last couple
they took a
seasons.
big old dump last season.
Yeah,
Um, but and you know they've not performed the same way since Coach Frost left for Nebraska and then got fired at Nebraska. But I think that's one where you could recruit people in that dynasty mode, if that makes sense. You could recruit guys to get you what you need. I feel like there's very few schools that you can recruit 5-star guys, and a lot of them are, you know, your Ohio States of the world, your Michigans of the world. Michigan State needs rebuilt. No one will say it. Um, I'll say it. Um, and then you know you go out west, UCLA, Wazoo, Washington State. That'd be a good one.
that wouldn't be bad.
That that'd be a good one to rebuild. Um, University of New Mexico would be a good one. University of Nevada at Las Vegas would be a good one. Um,
Oh yeah, no, I mean if we're going like deep now, it's like you can be Louisiana Cajuns, and I mean there's so many schools. I mean
Oh,
honestly, I
I
was just
think
trying to
that
get into like the ones that would probably be like the most fun and probably actually give you like a shot at success. Because I mean personally, I think some of these like New Mexico, I don't know if I necessarily see New Mexico having like
no
a
love for the
time to.
Lobos.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I mean, it's a video game, so obviously you can be like any school and you can take them to the championship, based on, recruiting and transfer portals and whatever, how you play the game. But, you know, I don't know. So I just think some teams will obviously be a little more fun to play than others. Shout
What
out to
about
Ross.
Western
Might
Texas?
might even be like Florida or something. Be a good one. What's that?
What about Western Texas? You guys got any football schools out there?
Well, I mean, every school just about has football. I mean, what are we really
Yeah, I'm
talking about?
talking
Like,
college, talking
no,
Division
I
One
understand. I
college.
understand what you're saying, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's like what I mean, what are we talking? D1, D2. I mean, they're everywhere,
D1,
man.
yeah, obviously.
But I mean, UTEP, UTSA.
That
Uh,
one, UTEP. I didn't realize that was up there. The
um,
miners, right?
yeah. Texas State. You know.
Oh, the Green Wave,
Rice
right?
Owls. I mean, Tulane. There's a lot of like schools here in Texas that you could get in on, like, but like honestly,
Tulane's in
trying to do something with
Louisiana.
like the Owls or Tulane or something like that would be. I don't
Isn't
know.
Tulane
I
in
guess for me
Louisiana?
personally, it just feels like picking some of these schools would be just a little too daunting. I'm almost looking just like I want a school with cool jerseys and like they're already like middle of the road. So like University Miami kind of.
There you go. Get the U. Get the U so I can beat your ass with the Ohio State Buckeyes like we did
But yeah, so
back in the
hopefully we'll
day.
we'll work out some details. We'll be able to figure out how we can cross play some of these modes and have some fun. Kind of rounding out the summer and everything. Um, put all that together. Next week, Ashton and I will be hanging out together at his place, playing some college football 25. Haven't exactly worked out what we're gonna play. Might play Dynasty. Might do Road to Glory. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it feels and what people want to see. But anyway, that about wraps it up for everything I got for this week on the sports page. As always, I am Dan Boyer, aka Neon Super Shrimp, joined by he's on the side, Kenny, aka Reckless. Be sure to check out Shut the Fuck Up on. You guys usually go on Thursdays, right? But y'all are
Yeah,
gonna Monday
we're
night
gonna go tomorrow. I've
tomorrow.
been dealing with rolling blackouts thanks to major thunderstorms and um,
Yeah,
having some
weather's been
health
crazy.
issues.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're probably gonna try to record tonight and post tomorrow.
Word. All right, man. Well, feel better, and shout out to everybody that made it for the stream today. We appreciate you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media at Peak One Sports, and we'll catch you next
And
week.
vote.
Oh yeah, if you check out our Facebook page, I've well, I don't know if I posted the link. I'll try and get on there and do it here in a little bit. But my girlfriend Corey Bennett is up for, and the Dapper Dog Academy is up for best dog trainer in Cleburne. So if you guys get a chance, check out our Facebook page and follow the link and vote for Dapper Dog Academy under best pet trainer. So yeah.
I've been harassing my kids to do so too.
I've been texting a ton of people, trying to get the whole thing going. So, if you guys don't mind, drop a
Let's
drop a
go,
vote
Dapper
for the Dapper
Dog.
Dog Academy, and we will catch you next week. All right, guys. Thanks.